Hey everybody, Sharon here from Content Sparks. We are talking about visual storytelling today because we just launched a course called Captivate Your Audience with Visual Storytelling, which is a combination of visuals and stories, but it's not necessarily what you would instantly think of as storytelling because there are a lot of different uses. So I'll show you some examples there. And I'm just going to hop straight over to my screen. So let's hop in. Captivate your audience with visual storytelling. I'm going to share tips, examples, and also a peek inside our new course. And I'm going to be going through what is visual storytelling, why and where to use it for maximum impact. I'll show you examples along the way there. I'm going to show you this simple step-by-step process for creating a visual story, and that comes from our new course. So this is something that you can teach yourself as well. So you can try it out. It's not for advanced designers. So those design skills are not necessary. There are lots of tools out to create simple stories. You'll see fancy ones around, but you don't have to do that. And I'm also going to show tips for using Canva, which is my favorite tool for creating visual stories. So that's a very easy way to create visual stories and then publish them or share them in different places. And there are some tips for using AI, particularly ChatGPT. I still have a lot of trouble with that, using it to create visuals, but if you are very good with it, that's another way, and it's great for ideas. So what is visual storytelling? The simple answer is the use of visuals to help communicate a message that's more than just one sentence. So there is a flow to it. It's not just a one-off visual, but it's helping you. So it could be assisting with or without text. It could just tell something in images, but often there's text as well because people do like a mix. And people do prefer visuals versus text alone. That's something that's been shown over the years. You can look up statistics online. I don't know, maybe it's 90%. There's a lot of different studies out there. It's more engaging. It makes things easier to understand. So for instance, if you have data or some sort of concept, adding visuals makes it easier to understand. People retain better, and of course, it's more compelling. So that's something I'm sure you're already familiar with, how important visuals are. Now, types of visual stories, that's where you need to be a little more open-minded. It's not just the traditional storytelling, like we have a course on the power of storytelling in marketing that goes through all the different types of stories. And in this course, it talks about a few too, but it's not just the big journey, the hero's journey. It can be a transformation, like a problem solution before, after, which matches things like that. Or even, I show an example here, before and after of a house renovation. But it's also things like timelines and maps, a day in the life, a series of stats, case studies, things like that. So let me show you some examples just to show what I mean. Let's see. I'm going to show, that's just the roadmap for the course. I'll go back through that. So here's one example. You can do something like a map that's showing where fires are. That's a visual story that's showing exactly what's going on. And here's another one that is Patagonia does a great job with company history, where they go through and they have the text talking about the history, and then they have an image of each one. This is the more dynamic because they have fancier, tech on their site, but there's an image in the background for each one. So that can be as simple as an image for each part of a story that makes it more engaging. Or here's another one that Nikon did, Areas of Focus, where they did a whole series on images taken in different parts of New York. So it explores New York and different images there. So that's a type of visual story. Or here's another one, that's the map that Aetna did that shows their different communities. So that is a type of visual story because it can be dynamic and show the evolving part of it. And it gives a little more detail about in a graph. So you can use data to tell a visual story too. Or even something like this where I did a video. So video can be a visual story also. And I showed just a video on how to use Google Slides design option. So there's usually a problem like people needing to learn how to use Google Slides and then how to actually do it, the walking through it. So that is a type of visual story, even though you wouldn't think of it immediately that way. And it's used in a lot of different places. So if we go back here, you'll see visual stories in blog posts. You'll see it in things like social media, of course. You see those all the time, carousels, reels, stories. Ads can be a story, advertisements as well. Anything that's showing that progression of some sort, not just a one-off image, unless it's something like an interactive map that's showing different parts or an infographic. Video site, of course, are going to have different stories. Website pages, you can have things like a visual story and an about, like that Patagonia one I just showed you that has a history. Sales pages, you can have things like a product development showing the different steps or a case study from a customer. Print brochures will often have that. Anywhere where you want to convey a message that has a progression of some sort or explains something in more than text alone. So there's a lot of different types there. Keep open-minded about that. And in the course, we go through a process, again, that you can teach to people. This is an image of the roadmap through the course. This is actually a type of visual story because it's showing the progression through the course. And it's something we give you in Canva, I think in PowerPoint too. So you'll see, if I show you it on a bigger screen here, you can see the progression. You'll talk about how visual storytelling fits you, so people determine how it actually fits, different methods of storytelling. And then there's a storytelling framework. That's a 5-step framework that everyone will use with a storyboard. And there's best design principles, there's researching your audience preferences, some of these things you would do with any visual or any story. Picking the visual format. So I talked before, there's infographics, series of images, videos, whatever's going to make most sense for the story that you want to tell. And then there's actually creating your story step by step. And that's where you'll have them do and that we haven't shared in other courses, whether the visuals course or the storytelling course, is actually using a storyboard to lay out the images and frames. And then you publish it and measure it. So that's the roadmap through the course. And then in the course itself, there's this 5-step process, and it follows the flow of the modules with worksheets, templates. You'll want to recommend your own favorite tools. Like I said, I'll show you Canva in a minute, but I can give you a quick look at this process in the course materials because I did promise you I'd show you course materials. And that is, let's see, we've got the course book. Why don't I open up the slide and show you that? Because you'll see with the course book, there's a lot of different detail. So if I open that, you'll see there's just your standard course book that we have that you can rebrand. It has that in there. And you can add more images in here. We use smart art. We have to be really careful about sharing other types of images because of copyright issues, but you can create your own and use other ones and then just make sure that you give credit to whoever's created it. But the course goes through a lot of detail. There's a lot of examples in here laid out, and then you can do visual examples in addition if you want. Anything where we've created a visual in here, it's usually in Canva or Smart Art so that you can also do them. But there's this step-by-step process in here on Module 3, which is setting a goal for your story, describing your target audience, drafting your message, drafting the storyboard, creating the visuals, and publishing your story. So that is the process of going through the different steps of creating a story, a visual story, setting goals, specific goals. So a visual story, when you create it, it shouldn't just be for the sake of it. A lot of people create content that way just because they have a great idea and then they don't actually have a reason or tying it strategically together to a goal. So in the course, you have them set a goal for the story and what kind of message, even if it's as simple as a how-to or, how to use my website, how to shop on my website, or the product development. What's the message you want to get across there? So there's a lot on that. describing your target audience. So you have to understand who you're creating this visual story for. A lot of those same concepts that you would be learning and teaching in every single course that you do that has to do with business. And you need to keep drilling down on this every time that you're talking about any kind of marketing or business strategy, because that's the part where people fall short and then their effort don't make an impact, especially their marketing, because they don't have a good understanding of their target audience. They don't have a clear message, and messages change over time as the world changes. So they should always be looking at that, even if it's just creating one piece of content. You always go back and revisit who's my audience, what's the message. And with a visual story, you need to look at things like the emotional hook that you'll have, the value proposition. So what are they going to get out of this? What's the message? What's the call to action on any type, even if it's a simple graphic that had like an infographic or like that map I showed you. What do you want people to get out of it? What do you want them to learn? So there's examples in here, and there's also examples of the storyboard template that you have them create. Let me show you what that looks like as well. So in here, I just have showing from the template that you give them and then examples, and you can create your own ones as well because they are in Canva. We created them in Canva. And again, I'll show you that in a second, how you can do that. So in the materials, you will get a whole thing with, we have the slideshow. In the student materials, there is a whole folder with an action guide and worksheet, and there's these editable Canva visuals. So there's some case studies where you'll have them practice actually going through different examples, different case studies, and describing what kind of visual they could create, what kind of story, as well as outlining their marketing message. And in the Canva visuals, let me open that up. There's one PDF with links to it. So if I go back to the website again, here, hang on with me, bear with me. And the PDF, you'll see there are links to different things in here, the roadmap and the storyboard template as well. So here's the storyboard template that you get that's in Canva. Now this one you want to put your branding on and then share it in Canva, share it as a template that your students can then use to create their own storyboards, because that's part of the course that they create their storyboard. And it's each frame. Now it's set up to be 6 frames, but this is the sort of thing that they can just copy pages if they're going to have more frames to it. And they describe in here, see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you. They need to put in a description of the scene and any sort of text that might go in. So in Canva, they can just pick different elements or upload their own pictures, but this would be the progression of the story they do. They also write it out first as well. So if they're in the workbook, the action guide, you'll give them different types of content, stories step by step. They set a goal, target audience, draft their message. There's a marketing message worksheet, and then they actually draft their narrative. So they can start by writing out different things. What's the storyboard from your message? So they have the message they want to get across and the type of visual, and then what's each frame? What's the progression going to be? And then actually locating resources and where they're going to get their visuals from and different tools. So that's all part of it. But once they have that storyboard mapped out, they can start creating the visual story. And we've given you a couple examples in here that are good as starting points. And again, you can use this as your template because we give it to you in Canva, and then create the story yourself. So if I go back again here, you can see how this becomes each one of these example stories. Then in Canva, the actual process would be to create that storyboard. And remember, this is a key part of the course, the part where they're actually creating it. Before that, they have to map it out. What type of story, what's the purpose, the goal, and then actually drafting out the series, the flow for it. What's the hook going to be and what are the different images going to be? So using a storyboard makes that easy. And you can use the storyboard in the course or use an existing template. So I'm just showing the roadmap here, but there are tons of template in Canva based on what you want to do and then actually creating it. So let me show you what that looks like in practice. So back again. I did tell you I was going to go back and forth, right? Here. Okay, so this is the storyboard. You can use existing templates. So here's one that we give you. That's one of the examples where it's setting a goal. It says exactly what to do, but then finding images, which they can just do in Canva just by searching something like, I don't know, coffee, as an example, and picking photos. But it might want to be something like starting with coffee beans and then the progression of creating the coffee, the history of that. How, or it could be your unique process of working with a client. So it could be you outlining your process, sitting down with a client, before and after of their story, anything like that. And you would lay it out so you can see the big picture here first. Or you can use templates in Canva, just do a search up top. There's their little AI thing is sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. But for instance, here I typed in transformation storyboard templates, and you can see there are some examples of actual storyboards. Like here's baking a cake. So there's an example, and there's a lot of ones that are pro version. So if you have a paid version of Canva, there'll be a lot more options, but there are lots of things in here that can be your starting point. And just replace the images, like transformation. Let's see, here's another one I did. Slideshow on how to use our website. So there's another one where I actually said slideshow, or you could say infographic. And then some of them will make sense and some of them won't. So here's one, you can see what type it is. Like here's Instagram post. And if I open it up, any of these, you would just say customize the template. Now you cannot share these with your students, but you can point them in the right direction to show them how to search. So you can actually go and do some examples like I'm doing and show them how to actually access these. These are people that have created them for Canva, so you cannot share them yourself. Be careful of that. Only share something that you created yourself. So here you can see it's a series of slides that can then be downloaded as a video, and they, or you, if you're showing how to use your website, can just replace the images with screenshots. So that's a really quick type of visual story. It's a tutorial, but that's a story because it's starting from the problem of searching the site to your resolution of finding the perfect product. Or let's see, are there any others in here? Here's an infographic, how to shop online on our website. So that's another example. Here's an example where I just took the roadmap that we give you and you can just edit. So if you take any template like the ones in Canva, you can then just go and edit the colors. You can put in little graphics. Like here, I started replacing numbers with other graphics that go along with the text. So it makes a little bit more sense. That's another one. And then that, I'm sure you guys have used other tools as well. But again, this is Canva. I love that there's so many templates in here. So that's that part of it. So then you'd use the storyboard or use an existing template. And then you need to actually go ahead and create. So there are a lot of different options in Canva itself for creating the visual stories. You can do a series of images and convert them to video or reels. You can record video clips like on camera or screen share and then just put them on slides. So you can present it as a live thing and record it, or actually put one video clip on and download it or make it a series. Static image showed you one example. You can use the templates in Canva for that. And they have some AI features as well that you can just sort of play around with, like a magic design for presentations or text to image, like asking about the evolution of online learning or some other process. But you have to be very, very descriptive with the images or you'll get something kind of random. So when you're in Canva and something like this, so here's a series of social media images. Now, these are just the ones from that you get in the course that we give you the Canva templates for. This is just an example. You could be using any series of images like the ones from the storyboard and put them onto individual slides in any shape. So this is more of an Instagram shape, depending on how you want to deliver, where you're going to publish your visual story. So you can do something like this, change out the images, change the text, But once you have your slides all set up that are showing the progression of the story, you can then publish it as a slideshow or a series of images, or you could make this into a video as well, right inside. So to do that, you use one of their AI features, which is the resize and magic switch. And you would just click on that, and then you'd go down to, you can resize it, of course, for different posts, or you can go into videos and click on that and then create it in the size you want. So say you want it as Facebook video. It could be a series that shows about your product and you're going to put it there. Or you might want it as a YouTube video, an Instagram, TikTok's still around. And then you just click continue. And then you want to copy and resize. And then it will open up in, let's see, did I already do it? I'm going to do it now. I think I created it already, but it didn't. Look how long that took. Nothing. And then you open it up, and this is now done as a video so that you could download it or share it that way. You can see it's set to play at 5 seconds per frame. You can adjust this as well and make it longer or shorter and apply it to all pages. I have a tutorial in one of our blog posts on using Canva to create course content that shows how to do this. You can even add music to the background of it. So for instance, in the apps here, there are apps. And if you don't see music, you can go into the audio. And then there's lots of different music that you could just add to it. Try and pick something that's a similar length to what your video would be. Happy, pop, there's lots of different things here. So if I do like the upbeat fun, that's probably too short for this length, this number of images, but it would just add it however long it goes. And you can even do audio effects like beat sync. It goes along with the images. So that will sync the pages to the beats in the music. And then you have a video. So you would just play it, then adjust anything you want. And then in here, depending on where you want to use this visual story, you can share directly on social media. So you can schedule it, you can share Facebook, because this, I think, was set as a Facebook size, or Instagram, anywhere else. So you can share it directly, or you can download it as a video or in other format, like a GIF even. But this one would be as a video, and then you can use it in multiple places. So think about that for a second, how you could use that if you have a series of images that are an about for your about page. You can use Canva, just upload your different images and then add some music, make it into a video, download it and put it on your website page. Very simple, very quick to do. And that's all a type of visual story. Great with customers as well, like customer case studies, anything like that, transformations. It could even be just 2 images and you make it into a little video or share or have them on your website page. So that is just one example of using Canva. Like I said, there's also infographics. I showed you some of those. That was the page. That was how to use the website. There's lots of different things. So just use that search term. You can also try to create presentations. Like I said, try some of their magic features, play around with that. I think you just go to, they have on the home page something with magic here, the Magic Studio. You can play around with that. It's still evolving, but by next year, it could be a lot better. And there are ways to use ChatGPT as well, or other AI tools. So those were some examples in Canva. ChatGPT or maybe Claude, other ones, you can use prompts to get ideas. So if you're very descriptive about it and make it part of a conversation, you might already be talking about a target audience or some sort of message you want to get across, anything like that. The types of the other parts of the visual storytelling process, what your goal is, who your audience is, can then ask it for a series of images that you can use to tell a story. But you can also start broad, ask for ideas, give an outline, and even do some small edits. It does take some practice. You can then take that and upload it to Canva also and overwrite text with boxes, convert it to a video, anything like that. I do want to show you one thing there that is related to some changes with ChatGPT. So let me go over again to my screen and show you what I'm talking about. So if I go into a chat that I started before, I was going through some different things, some ideas for this live stream and what I can cover. And I didn't have as much context as I would like for creating image, but I wanted to show you what you can do. So I started with a broad one here, and I said, can you create a series of images that show the progression of outlining and creating an online course? And it created this, which is not what I would have done, but I did give it a very, very broad prompt. So I didn't like it. I didn't like what it did. So I said, okay, can you do it without a person? Because the people images are always tough. They don't tend to get the hands correct. So that was kind of useless as well. So then I said, okay, let's try giving it a specific outline of the steps that I want to show. So I gave it the 7 steps. I didn't give specifics again about what I wanted the image to look like. So it didn't give a great job. It takes what you've given it and then it kind of fills in the blanks and creates a prompt. So that didn't work very well. I said, okay, do it as a new series, putting the 7 steps into 7 simple images. So it did a little bit better there. Of course, it gets all the text wrong. That's pretty much standard for it uses DALL-E, DALL-E, if you haven't heard of it, DALL-E 3 in ChatGPT, and I'm sure that'll keep evolving. But you can then go and edit whatever it picks up. So if you just click on the image, it'll open up this editing pane, and you can then click on this little select button and then click on what you want to edit. So here I want to edit. I have to move my mouse a little to do it. It's highlighted that section, and then I can say change text to my course, something like that. It will then redo the image. It might take a second because there's a lot in this image. So I may need to go back and show you. So it's creating a new image that will change that text. But it can be a lot easier to just download this and then upload it to Canva and edit those boxes just by putting little text boxes or text boxes and blocks on top of the text and redoing it there in Canva. Because this does kind of take a while. And I can actually show you how I did that rather than letting this continue going. It's a little slow probably because I have so many things going on at once. So let's just see if I can cancel this. Or then X out, and I did it later in here. Let's see. Here I edited one. So I did, let's see here. So this one I did the edits and I had it change this text here. It said something weird to your course. Kind of hard for you to see on the screen, but you can see there's 2 canes here. And you can also click on the little eye here and it'll show how it took my prompt and converted it to a prompt, a longer prompt that it used for DALL-E. So that's just some interesting stuff to see what a prompt would give you. And then you just download it. At the moment, when you download these things, it downloads as a .p file. It used to download as a PNG file, but now it's a WP. But you can then take that file and go to convertio.co/webp-png. So just look up online, convert WebP to PNG. This is the actual Convertio page. But like I said, you can just search that. So I did that. I did it as PNG, and then I can go over it and upload it onto a new thing in Canva. So I would go into Canva, and maybe I'm going to want it as a, let's see, say I want it as an Instagram post. I can create a blank one, and then I could take that image that I just created in there and saved. There it is. There. I'm in my Explorer and I'm just dragging it in to upload it. I just dragged it right onto here, and then I can expand it and use that. And you could do this with a series of images as well that you're doing in anything in Canva. So if you create some in a separate platform like Dolly, a ChatGPT, or a Midjourney, you can then do this here, upload it and edit it, change the background to match. There are lots of different things. Like I said, it's not my expertise, but you can see how you can use it that way. All right. So that is Canva, some ChatGPT tips, and I still find it easier with the template as well. So like I said, try other AI tools. Also, things like Claude might do a better job. There are tons of others. I'm sending out a list tomorrow that's actually with PLR, so private label rights, that you can share with your own people. Just edit it and put in the tools that you like. So look out for that in your email tomorrow. There are tons of different ones. I recommend you to start with something easy. The easiest thing for you, if you're not an expert in creating these sorts of visual stories, and then teach the course so you can have examples. Things like the infographics are really easy to do, showing things like what people are going to learn in the course, starting from one point to the end. That's a story showing something about you and your background, doing a series of images related to whatever it is you sell. Or if you're helping businesses start from a certain point, or the progression of their sales that they've made, anything, any type of message you want to get across. You can do a little screen recording, like I showed you, a how-to. You can interview a customer. Start with whatever makes sense for you, what's easiest for you based on your business. All my customers have so many different types of businesses that it's hard to show you exactly what would make sense. That's why we keep it pretty generic so that you can customize it for yourself and do examples that make sense for your audience. And then use those examples in the course itself to customize it. So, for example, we have some case studies in the part of the activities in the course. And there are 3 case studies where they get background information, some project details, and then students have to draft a 5-point storytelling framework. So that's the example. You can take any of these case studies, copy them, go into ChatGPT and say, okay, do this exact same type of case study, but for a company that sell whatever, green products, or for real estate, or whatever it is your audience. Or like a plumber, a before and after transformation. Tell it to follow the exact same flow, and you can come up with something that's very similar that you can then replace in here with something that makes more sense for your audience. You can use them as is because we try to do things that anyone can relate to, so you don't have to change these, but it's one way that you can customize it with those using AI, which is terrific for that. And you can do that anywhere else in the course as well, like those like those examples of storyboard also. If there's anything else specific that you want to see in here in the materials, I'm happy to show those to you also, because I'm getting towards the end of what I was going to show you here. Yeah, back office. And that's it. So that is it for this section. If you have questions on any of this, I can go back in and show you a few more of the materials. But first, I know people had asked me about the bonus as well for the early bird deal, which is this design principles cheat sheet. I have a little GIF here that shows it as well. It comes in Canva and in a Word document. So let me open that, because I know someone's going to ask me about that. And I could also show you the additional option, the upgrade option as well, because there's a whole activity pack. But let me show you the bonus first. So this is a design principles cheat sheet for visual storytelling. You can see the GIF of the Canva, but here it is in a Word document also. So you can see that this can also be a really good lead magnet for you to build an audience for the course. And there's all different tools in here, and then there's an actual exercise. So it gives them some quick wins because they get design principles, and then they can go through and look at something they already have and refine it right there and evaluate it. So that's a really useful thing for you guys to get, that you only get when you get the course in the first few days. The other things I want to show you before we go any further is the other options. So once you've added the course to your cart, we always have this other page that has some suggestions. And so here's the actual page. for the sales page for the course. When you click the Add to Cart button, you come to this page that has other options. So we see course quizzes and group activity, and then some other related courses that you could use in combination with this one, like the power of storytelling and marketing goes more into different types of stories. It doesn't go into the visuals with the storyboard, but it has other types of stories, that kind of thing, or going to other places where they would use visuals or visual story. Deeper into marketing message, because it isn't in depth in this course, but a lot of people need more work on that. So if they get stuck on it, that's an extra course that you might want to deliver to them, especially if you have a membership site. So one thing on here is this upgrade pack, course quizzes and group activity. I want to show you that in particular because this is like an extra workshop on storyboarding. So if people get stuck with the storyboarding, you can do more practice in a group type activity. You can do it individual or you can do it as a group. Let me show you those materials right now. So there's module quizzes, but let me show you the group activity. It's in a Word doc and there are some Canva templates that are for the students. So I'll show you everything in the Word doc first. You get facilitator instructions that are specifically on how to run this activity. Now, it's great for courses like this, especially in this world right now where there's so many courses going on that are just self-study. People are going to get a lot more from you, a lot more value, a lot more personal aspect, and you'll stand out more if you do any type of live or group activity on it. That's not something that can be replicated by anyone else. So here at the Storyboarding Skills Workshop, you get slides, scenarios, template, student workbook, and this can be run separately, like after the course or after the module or as part of the module on storyboarding when they do their storyboards to give them extra practice. So there's an outline with some things that you can talk about addressing the slide and then some timeline on here. So you follow this. These are your facilitator notes telling you how to run each section of it and the timing of it. And then there are the slides themselves, which are in Canva. We just give you the slide text here as well so that you could use it in a different program other than Canva because it's just outlined here, all the different text that you put onto slide. So if you use a different program, it's there for you. And this is the text on the slides and how you teach it. And then there's also the scenarios. Let me go into that. So the scenarios the students get in their workbook, but you get answers to them. These are the things that each group would work on. And you can do this in a Zoom where you just have breakout rooms, depending on how many people you have doing it as a group. There's a breakout room feature. So the facilitator version here gives some instructions, and then you can see each one of these case studies, these hypothetical scenarios. So this is the information you give to different groups or students, and then there are discussion points for you to use, as well as some answers, possible answers. So when you run a group discussion, you can be referring to this as your own key to what they could be answering. So if they get stuck, when you do any feedback and presentations, you can refer to this. So all the stuff is there that you need. And again, you could run this individually where each person is working on it, but they'll get a lot more out of it if they're in very small groups and you can do it live. So that is a great activity to have. And like I said, there's also the student book in there, and we give you the slides in Canva, as well as some of the other materials in Canva. So if I go back a second, I didn't open these up, so I'll open them up now. Remember, you get all the activity links in here. So this is what the slides would look like. With any of the Canva templates we give you, you'll get that link to the template, and then you'll say, use the template. My directions are a little different because I'm the owner of this, but you can get a preview of it. And then these are easy to edit in Canva to add your own branding if you want. And then there's also the student workbook, the storyboard template. We put it in here as well, again, because they need that to do the group activity. You get that in the main course, but we put it in here as well. And then the student workbook is in a 8.5 by 11, so you could convert it to A4 if you need it in a different country. And then that's laid out very simply. You would save it as a PDF. So the storyboard they need in Canva, make sure you save it as a template. I don't think I showed you how to do that. So here's the template, and you would just go into there and you can do a template link. And that's what you would want to do, because you don't want to give people access to the original. You just want to give them a template that they can then use. So you create a template link, and it says anyone with the link can use this design as a template. Sign in is required, but you won't know who has made copies of the design. So basically, you don't want them just using yours. You want to give them a template. And I think that's all on that. I mentioned there are also quizzes. So there's that quiz section. I've talked about quizzes in the past. These are also useful, not just to put into a course platform in the quiz feature, but also as discussion questions. So you'll see there are quizzes for each one of these, for each one of the modules, and less simple multiple choice. A great way to make your course stand out is, again, to do these as live group discussion, live interaction. And otherwise, that is everything. Main thing I want to get across with the visual storytelling is don't overcomplicate it, because it can get crazy if you're really skilled with graphics. But I'm assuming that you're not going to be teaching this to people who are highly skilled with graphics. But if you are, just tailor it a little bit more, give them some more options, because they still have to follow that same process of setting a goal, making sure they understand their audience, the marketing message. They may be fantastic at creating different types of graphics and videos, but that doesn't mean that they're doing it strategically in a visual storytelling format that will meet some sort of marketing or business goals. So remember that and tailor it appropriately. And if you're not great with graphics, keep it simple, keep it targeted to people that are not fantastic at doing the graphics, and then do those simple ones like I showed in Canva, and just focus on using tools that you know. So practice with a little bit first. You could even make it a course just on one tool, where you're using one tool to create visual stories, because you don't want to delay actually teaching, delivering, selling this course just because you don't know all the tools. You won't know all the tools. There are new tools coming out every day. You can't be a master of all of them, but there are some that will make visual storytelling easier, even for people that are beginners and are not very good at it. So don't let that be intimidating. I'm not great doing visual and graphic. I have to use templates for any of them. I have to keep it simple, but it can be simple and still very engaging if you're following the format where you actually are addressing things that people want to hear about, grabbing them emotionally, and getting on camera as well where you can, like I'm doing right now. Or those slides that I shared where I just added images. I just used Canva for that. I gave it an outline in text, put it in a doc, asked it to convert to a presentation, and then worked on it from there. Have a really great day now, and let me know what you think of the new course. Take care.